MSNBC contributor and Vanity Fair reporter Gabe Sherman just posted a new article with explosive details about President Trump considering the, quote, endgame to his administration. This is in the wake of new indictments in the Russia investigation. Quote, for the first time since the investigation began, the prospect of impeachment is being considered as a realistic outcome and not just a liberal fever dream. According to a source, advisors in the West Wing are on edge and doing whatever they can not to be ensnared. One person close to Dina Powell and Gary Cohn said they're making sure to leave rooms if the subject of Russia comes up. The article, the Vanity Fair article, goes on to say President Trump is increasingly pointing fingers at his son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner. Quote again, speaking to Steve Bannon on Tuesday, Trump blamed Jared Kushner for his role in decisions, specifically the firings of Mike Flynn and James Comey that led to Mueller's appointment, according to a source briefed on the call. When Roger Stone recently told Trump that Kushner was giving him bad political advice, Trump agreed, according to someone familiar with the conversation. Again, this is from Vanity Fair. Former Trump campaign aide Sam Nunberg is quoted in the article calling Kushner, quote, the worst political advisor in the White House in modern history. Joining us now from our Washington newsroom, NBC News intelligence and national security reporter Ken Delaney, and also with us, Ashley Parker, Washington Post White House reporter and an MSNBC political analyst. Ashley, let's start with you and get the politics of this out of the way. It's no secret that Steve Bannon and his orbit want Jared Kushner out of that White House. So when you read an article like this, the context of knowing that, what is your reaction?
So I am always a little skeptical of claims of Jared's demise. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. We know that sort of no one in this White House is not expendable at a certain point. And the president is not known for his loyalty, although if there is one group of people he's known to be loyal to, it's his family. And Jared, by marrying in, very much counts his family. And so I think you are right. There are a number of people, those who you named, who do want Jared out. I think it's probably not helpful for Jared generally if you have anyone whispering in the president's ear about what bad advice Jared is giving you. But I think, look, he was just in Saudi Arabia. He's still helping out with the Middle East. My understanding is he's keeping a low profile internally, much lower than when he first started. But by my reporting, he's still doing substantive things.
Yeah, nobody's safe, but let's remember, he is the husband of Donald Trump's daughter. So you take that for what you will. Ashley, that being said, these new indictments, Robert Mueller's investigation, the news of George Papadopoulos, does it seem like it's actually striking a new nerve at the White House, making people a little bit more nervous about what there is to come in the future and the realistic prospect of being impeached?
I think the answer to that is yes and no. You have to remember this is an administration that has been dealing with the cloud of Russia almost since day one. So as someone put it to me, it's never a good day for the White House when a special prosecutor comes down with indictments. I don't think anyone would argue that's a positive. That said, there was some sense of relief, and keep in mind this is all a very relative scale, but there was some sense of relief that at least to start these indictments with George Papadopoulos, who was someone who was as the White House has repeatedly said publicly, a volunteer, not a paid advisor, with Rick Gates and Paul Manafort, that the indictment, again, at least initially, is focused on a lot of their alleged behavior well before the campaign. So there's some relief, for instance, that it wasn't someone like General Flynn, who was the president's national security advisor for a while. But the real open question in the White House is this wrapping up quickly, as Ty Cobb has told people he expects it will?
Sanders claims on a daily basis. Since basically day one.
Or is this the first shoe to drop? Yeah. And you know, this is calm before the storm, and they really don't know.
So, Ken, I've got a bunch of questions I want to ask you, starting with Hope Hicks. She's the next one that could come under the microscope. Robert Mueller's team has a date to talk with her soon.
Yeah, and this sort of underscores the kind of pressure that people in the White House are under. Hope Hicks is 28 years old. She's had to go out and hire a lawyer, and she's now going to be grilled, presumably, about her role in the Air Force One statement, the statement that Donald Trump drafted on behalf of his son about that Trump Tower meeting, which we know Robert Mueller is now investigating as part of his inquiry into whether the president obstructed justice. And I have a little different take on sort of how this is playing out in the White House. I think Monday was a devastating day for this White House. I think the scope and the detail in these Manafort and Gates indictments were surprising even to those of us who have followed this case intimately. It's what lawyers call a paper case. It's an indictment that can be proven with just the documents. And Paul Manafort is facing 15 years in prison. And to the extent that he knows anything that's incriminating to this White House, that's a scary prospect. And then secondly, the Papadopoulos plea shows that once again the Trump campaign was offered dirt on Hillary Clinton, and now we know that Mueller is investigating up the chain to figure out how far that offer went in the campaign.
You know, you say Hope is a 28-year-old campaign aide, but let's remind ourselves that she's one of his longest-serving, if not the longest-serving advisor at this point. She's very close to not only Donald Trump, who she's been working for since day one of this campaign, but previously she worked for Ivanka. She is in a very small group of people within this orbit that is privy to Donald Trump's every whim. She's always there. She hears what they're talking about. She, of anybody that they might be talking to, might actually know more than anyone else just by her proximity and the trust that the president does have in her.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.